Welcome back to another video. It's Sunday morning. Last night I was racing, and I didn't give you any stats in that video, yesterday's video, like as to how hard we were going. But my average heart rate for about 1 hour and 10 minutes was 184, or maybe it was 186. I can't quite remember. One of the two. So I'm feeling it quite a lot this morning, pretty tired. So I'm going to take like just an easy day today. I'm heading out now to the cafe to meet some friends. Just thought I'd do half an hour's of easy riding and then get back into training tomorrow. I'm still pretty buzzing off of that win last night. I mean, like, you just do all of this training to try and win a race, and when it finally pays off and you finally win, it's like, it's just the best feeling in the world. But yeah, that was yesterday. Time to move on, and right now I'm heading to the cafe, and I won all that money last night, and now I'm just going to go and blow it all, or a proportion of it anyway. Hopefully I'm not going to spend it all. That would be an expensive cafe ride. Let me just give you a little bit of a progress update on today. Did an easy ride out to the cafe earlier on this morning. Did a whole 10-kilometer ride, like 20 minutes or something. Yeah, I got back from there a couple of hours ago, and right now I'm walking the dogs. Pretty chilled Sunday as far as Sundays go for me. But I'm going to go home right now, jump on the computer and jump into the post-race analysis of my win yesterday at the Emerson GP. Just dissect it a little bit, and I don't know, maybe you can take something away from it, or maybe not. I don't know, who cares, whatever. Let's go. You've made a right mess of that stick. Alright, so before I jump into this, let me give you a quick explanation about the circuit that we were racing on. It's a pretty untechnical circuit. Basically half of the circuit's uphill, half of the circuit's downhill. The course is pretty much a big triangle. There's 3 corners. You can take 2 of them completely flat out. One of them gets a little bit tight and narrow, so you have to sort of brake, and it's a little bit more technical. But for the most part, I mean, it's not a very technical course. In the wet, it would be quite dangerous because there's quite a lot of potholes on the corners. But I mean, in the dry, it was you know, it's as safe as they come, really. So the climb wasn't much of a climb. It was just more of a sort of a 500-600 meter drag, which you didn't really feel at the start, but I knew, like, as the race went on, it would start to tire people out a little bit, and my thinking was it would have been really important to be at the front throughout this race, just to position myself well, purely for the fact that as the race goes on, people start to get a little bit tired, they start to lose wheels a little bit, and before you know it, you could be off the back and way out of the race. So to avoid that from happening, I had to use a little bit more energy, but staying at the front was definitely beneficial. You can also quickly jump over to moves and oversee any attacks. So there was a few teams here with numbers, I mean 5, 6, 7 riders, and me for St. Piran. I was representing myself. I was the only one at this race. So for me, it was a case of like trying to get in moves with the riders with teams, because those were, you know, the strongest teams there. If they had a rider in a move, they wouldn't chase. If they didn't have a rider in a move, they would chase. So if I got away with some of those riders, I think that would have been the biggest chance of having a successful breakaway. I mean, at the start of the race, I went with quite a few attacks, but I wasn't necessarily reckless with it. I thought a lot more about this race. I thought about, my mentality was completely different. It was a case of what move do I think is going to stick, and what move is going to give me the best chance at winning this race. So ignore the duration down in the bottom left corner. You can use it for reference, but it's about 20 minutes slow for some reason. So as you can see now, we're about 30 minutes into the race. I noticed 2 riders just sort of peeled off the front. One of them was a real rider, you know, one of the teams with a large number of riders in this race. So I made the decision to bridge across to that gap. The gap opened up pretty quickly, so I thought it was a dangerous move. So to get across to that break, I had to do like a 45-second max out effort, just to get across as quickly as I can, and also reduce the chances of bringing anyone else with me. As you can see there, my heart rate's pretty high. As I got onto the back of the Ribble rider, I just tried to like recover as quickly as possible and recover as much as possible. After a couple of laps of riding, we were all taking equal turns. One other rider from the Crimson team bridged across, who also had about 7 riders in that race. So I knew that this was a real good move, and I knew that there wasn't too many teams behind that were going to be able to chase it. I think the other 3 guys realised that as well, and they also committed 100% to that move. So that was the 3 of us, and the 4th rider was David Bolland, who was in that group, and he spent quite a lot of time racing in Belgium over doing the Commerce racing, so he's very much accustomed to this style of racing, and you know, he's a very, very strong rider. So I knew that for the bunch behind, this group that I was in was going to be quite difficult to try and bring back. As you can see here, I'm rolling across the line. I'm in first position in the move, and I ended up taking the first preem. We weren't sprinting for them, we were just riding through it, because I think the objective for all 4 of us was to get to the finish and to focus on the finish, and not necessarily the preems midway through. Preems, by the way, if you don't know, a lot of bike races do preems, which are basically like mid-race sprints. So in this race in particular, there was 4, and for each preem you would win an extra £15. So coming across the line right there was basically my entry fee back. So I just want to fast forward it a little bit here. As you can see now, we're about 55 minutes into the race. We've got about 10 minutes to go, and the lap this time through is going to be 5 laps to go. So we had a sizable gap over the main bunch, but we've just been informed that it was a group of 7 riders behind us, chasing us, and they were starting to close the gap. I mean, we still had quite a considerable gap, but you know, they were making inroads, and as you can see here, we'd all been working through sort of evenly for what, 25-30 minutes, and now 5 laps to go. This was the first of many attacks from David. He evidently didn't want to bring it down to a sprint. He wanted to win. He wanted to win solo. Now I noticed that like at this time in the race, the other riders started to sort of do shorter turns, a little bit softer on the front. Normally this is because of 2 reasons: either A, we're coming to the end of the race, they've exceeded a lot of energy, they're just tired, or B, they're starting to think about the finish and they're starting to want to save their legs a little bit. Now I was sat first man when David did this first attack, and there was no response from behind. So my quick sort of initial reactions was the 2 guys behind were starting to suffer a little bit, and I was still feeling good. You know, maybe they weren't. Maybe they were playing a bluff, and I'm pretty sure they were doing. But I was thinking, you know, I'm still feeling good, so I'm going to cover this move. And as he attacked, I saw him attack, and I quite easily, well, I mean, I say quite easily, it did hurt a lot, but I quite quickly managed to get back on terms with him and get back onto his wheel, because I was more than happy to take it to a bunch sprint. Like it's an uphill sprint. I'm quite confident in my uphill sprint from a small group, and for me, like, I didn't have any intentions of breaking away solo. I was more than happy to just play defensive, and try and win the sprint. All right, so I'm just gonna skip ahead now to the last lap, and I'm gonna narrate the last lap with you as you watch it and I watch it. There's numerous attacks. There's just constant attacks. You can see here, Tom from the Crimson team, he launches the next attack. Then Will from Ribble decides to shut it down. I'm following David right here. I'm actually the last man. I'm in quite a good position here. And then David just flicked me through here. I sort of hesitated for a moment and then realised that this bottom sort of 2 corners of the circuit is the more technical part, and it's very hard to pass the riders on the straights. So yeah, I don't know, going into this sprint, 3rd man was, like, in my initial thoughts, the best option to do. So yeah, David's behind me, 2 riders in front of me. As you can see, Tom there in the front, he's starting to look around now. He wants to get off the front. He doesn't want to be on the front. You know, you never want to be on the front leading into a sprint. About, you know, probably 500 meters to go here. So yeah, I mean, I was in perfect position. Everyone's starting to get a little bit cagey now. The speed drops quite a bit. You can see here we're doing less than 40k an hour. And yeah, I mean, we're coming into the last corner, the most technical part, the slowest corner of the course. And I'm on a good wheel here. I'm on Will's wheel. He starts to lead out his sprint. I don't want to go too early because it's an uphill finish, so I just sit there pretty comfortably, and then decide about 150 to go that I would start my sprint, and yeah, just power away and come across the line in first place. As you can see, my heart rate there apparently says I'm doing 157 BPM, but it's just because my battery went a little bit flat and it stopped reading for a moment momentarily. In the sprint, my heart rate was, as you can see, it's just picked up back there again. It was probably around 200 beats per minute, just over 200. So I was pretty much at my max. My max heart rate is 205. So yeah, I definitely had to work for that victory, and it wasn't easy at all. The average heart rate, as I said, for the whole race was 186 BPM. Max was around 200. Our average speed was 27.5 miles per hour. But yeah, decent day out. First victory of the season and my first personal win for St. Piran. So yeah, decent day all around. But that's the end of today's video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this little race breakdown, leave a like on this video. And as always, I will see you tomorrow at 5 p.m.